Last week, President Trump signed 4 very aggressive executive orders to slash drug prices, and as expected, Big Pharma, they're fighting back. Here's what the CEO of Pfizer said on an earnings call today.
I'm disappointed by these executive orders. They pose enormous distraction at a time where the industry needs to be completely focused on developing a potential COVID-19 vaccine or treatment. We have plans to invest in both R&D and manufacturing in the United States. If finalized, these new executive orders could force us to rethink those plans.
Well, Pfizer, of course, everyone knows is an amazing American company. But his grousing about profits is absurd. Now, last week, HHS and the Pentagon announced that it would pay Pfizer and its German biotech partner $1.95 billion to produce 100 million doses of a COVID-19 vaccine with the option of buying an additional 500 million doses. So you do the math there. So there's no reason U.S. citizens should be paying more than other OECD countries for other drugs that, Pfizer makes. That's the whole point of this executive order. The upcharge is absurd. Now, here to respond is Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. Senator, you just heard the CEO of Pfizer essentially threatening to move manufacturing overseas because of these executive orders. What does this tell you?
Well, it tells you that they are very interested in their profits and the gravy train that they've had going for years. Listen, I have no sympathy for Big Pharma whatsoever. They routinely charge Americans 2 and 3 and 4 times more for the same drugs that they charge patients in, say, Europe, France. And I know this is true because we've done studies on it. My home state of Missouri, they're charging people in Missouri 3 and 4 and 5 times more than they're charging folks in France or Germany or Canada. And I'm glad that the president's standing up to them.
Well, and I think, again, the money that is given by the drug companies to both political parties, it's astronomical. They're among the biggest donors to politics in the United States, and that's fine. That's what they do. But let's not all think this is all just charitable endeavors. I mean, it's a business, it's a company, but they've gotten a free ride. And I want to ask you, Senator, about the president's decision, the administration's decision to give Kodak a boost in order to keep some medical manufacturing in the United States. There are a lot of conservatives out there, free marketeers, who would say, we're playing favorites. And to that you say?
Well, I'd say, listen, it is important that we manufacture as many pharmaceutical products as we can in this country. The fact that we manufacture so few drugs any longer, particularly drugs like insulin, we manufacture 0% in this country. Major pharmaceutical products, we found because of the COVID-19 crisis that we are deeply dependent on foreign supply chains. So I think it is incumbent to look at all the options for bringing those supply chains back, for getting medical production back in this country, and to go back to Big Pharma, again, I don't have any sympathy for these guys. This Big Pharma, Big Government alliance has been great for Big Pharma. They've made a killing these last few years, really for decades, and it's time they started putting patients first.
And Senator, a couple of weeks back, speaking of Biden, he said that we should re-examine Trump's tariffs on China. Of course, that's the whole reason China came to the bargaining table on these trade deals. But today, Biden came out and pretended that he was going to be the one, after 4 decades plus in Washington, to put America first. Watch.
Using federal dollars that have already been appropriated to focus them on building things that make us and increase our independence, so we don't have to rely on anyone else for whether it's cybersecurity and cyber information. We have the capacity to do it at home, do them at home.
Okay, Senator, is it my mistake or not? Am I remembering this incorrectly? Wasn't he vice president in an administration for 8 years? I must have missed all that work on these issues of bringing manufacturing back to the United States.
The problem with Joe Biden is that he is a classic China appeaser, and he has been his whole political career. He certainly was as vice president. I mean, heck, even earlier this year, he was questioning whether China was really a geostrategic threat. Now, that turned out to be a little bit of a problem for him, as we've seen with COVID-19, which is why he doesn't want to talk about those past statements now. But this is a guy who has never stood up to China. In fact, he has been all too eager to roll out the red carpet for China, give them whatever they want, sell out our jobs, sell out our workers. That's the problem. We're still cleaning up from his mess of years ago. And why would we go back to those failed policies? Well, we don't need more appeasement. We need to get tough on China. This president started to do it. We need even more of that.
Senator, I wouldn't let you get away without what you said this past weekend, where you said quite candidly that you wouldn't support a Supreme Court nominee unless he or she had publicly stated before the nomination that Roe versus Wade was wrongly decided. Now, is that a litmus test that even some Republicans will back away from? What's your response?
You know, you can call it whatever you want, Laura. I call it asking some basic questions about judicial philosophy, and I also call it the end of the trust us approach. I mean, for years, conservatives, especially religious conservatives, let's be honest, have been told by the D.C. establishment, just trust us. You know, I mean, we'll pick good judges. Just trust us. Don't ask too many questions. Certainly don't ask about Roe. Just trust us. Well, I'm through with that. I want to know, because Roe is absolutely central. Roe is an unbridled act of judicial imperialism. And if a nominee thinks that Roe was rightly decided, then he or she is a judicial imperialist, and I'm not going to vote for him.
All right, still got to get Collins and Murkowski to sign on to any potential Supreme Court pick, but I would agree with you that you look at Roberts' record and even Gorsuch on some issues, and you wonder what the heck happened there. Trust but verify. I guess that's what you have to do. Senator, great to see you as always on these important issues. Thanks so much.